What's your I was the only one to get away story? Loads of people at a pub in my town that was notorious for not hiding so had loads of underage people in there drinking. It was their busiest night of the year and the police raided it. Most people ran out the back and some hopped the fence. The rest tried to hide in the toilets. I just sat there drinking as the police came through the pub, pulling everyone out the toilets and back inside, hiding them all and taking names and addresses. The people who had jumped the fence decided to stand on the corner just outside to wait for their friends who hadn't been so lucky. They thought. Next thing they knew, the police had come outside and started hiding. Everyone stood on the corner like they had inside. Myself and two friends, one of age, the other, like me, not yet 18, had just sat there through the entire incident, drinking our pints and joking on with some of the better-natured cops. They didn't bother hiding anyone who hadn't run, so I was one of a very few of my friends who got away with it scot-free. I was abducted in Iraq while working in IT along for other people. After 946 days, I was released. Everyone else taken with me was killed. I was gambling in Vegas on a Friday with friends' bachelor party coming up the next day. Playing blackjack, mostly just killing time, waiting for dinner, but the table was on fire. It was a full table shortly after I sat down. I played for a couple hours and the table was all up on money anywhere from $50,000 to $800. The $800 was me. Everyone else was literally up at least 10 grand. It's about 20 minutes before I'm supposed to meet up with someone, so I call it and head back to my room so I can shower and change for the night. Head out for dinner and have a good night. The next morning, my buddies call me down to the lobby to meet up. As I get down there, out of sheer coincidence, they are talking to the dealer that was at the table when I left. She says there he is and points at me. Friends are like, no. Turns out, I was the only one that walked away from that table with $1 to my name. Someone taught me that the moment the dealer mentions how well you are doing, it is time to quit playing. My dad and I both work in casinos here in Vegas. Craziest story he ever told me was that one day a Canadian guy comes with like $1,000 to play with. He's never been there before, so he's all zeroed out. Anyway, my dad comes into his shift and the pit boss on shift before him tells him about the guys playing and mentions the Canadian. My dad says, so what's his split? Language at the time for how much positive or negative he is, and the guy goes, UHHH. $100. Oh, up. Well, how much has he lost? Well, he hasn't lost anything yet. He came in and just kept winning. He ended up with like $108,000. Next day, same thing. This time he's $90,000 up. No loss. It was amazing. He says I'll quit at $200K. Guy ends up losing all $198. Zero trying to get to $200,000. My dad can't remember exactly, but the guy left with like $1,200. High school party, one of my first. I was wasted, thrown up in the basement bathroom when the cops arrived. Eventually they were let inside and stormed into the basement where everyone was hiding loudly with the lights off, with their flashlights beaming down into the dark. I want to say there were at least 30 people rounded up to the living room where they started calling parents. The host of the party saw me sitting on the mantel, having accepted my fate. She knew my dad would literally whoop my and send me out the window. I knocked over the grill on my way out and walked around the back of the house, through a few backyards, and to the neighborhood pool where I cuddled with some bushes for a few hours. When I saw the last cop finally leave, I sprinted back to the house and knocked on the door to be let in, scaring the out of the 3 survivors. A few dozen people were charged with underage drinking. I was on holiday in Bali. A policeman flagged us down as we were waiting at traffic lights on our rented mopeds. I just decided to bezz it through the now green traffic lights. They got pulled and fined a fair amount for driving without a license. I felt a bit afterwards, but they said they would have done the same if they had the balls to. Not me, but a friend. This happened 20 plus years ago. Her friends were hanging out and decided to go out for pizza. She headed to the pizza place while the others headed to the other location of same pizza joint. This was before the days of common cell phones. The location that her friends went to, a guy decided to shoot up the place. I'm not sure how many were hit. She was obviously fine because she was at the other location. Who shoots up a pizza place? CJ in GTA San Andreas. My first house party in college was on Halloween my freshman year. Naturally, everyone was in costume and about half the people there were underage. I wasn't drinking, but my friends were. Around midnight, an older guy 40s walked in dressed as a cop. Me, being the one of the few sobers at the party, realized he was an actual cop. I tried to convince my friends to leave, but they all said the guy was just in a costume. So I left on my own. I walked right past the cop, told him to have a good night, and walked home. I found out the next day all of my friends got tickets for underage drinking. I went to a private high school and was part of a group of about 20 people who knew about a tent hidden in the woods behind our school. People would go there and have sex after school, smoke pot and do hood rat. Someone got in trouble and ratted out all of us as an attempt to lessen her punishment. Apparently, she was going to be expelled, and on the last day before finals, we all got called down to the detention room and the dean told US that they had found drug paraphernalia and weapons, airsoft pistol and made US all write down everything we know about the tent and who we've seen at the tent. 19 people ratted out everyone in that room, including themselves, and were given pretty harsh punishments. 3 were expelled, some were suspended into the next year, and the rest got demerits. I wrote down, I have no idea what you're talking about. Went and talked to the deans and said the same thing and was off the hook. I'm certain my name was on every list. And I'm sure they wanted to nail me, but I denied, and I guess they were satisfied with 19 people giving themselves up. High school party. Girl decides to spread her legs and 12 guys in a room. I passed out before it happened. They all got chlamydia. But they had sex. 10 minutes of heaven for the weeks of fire. I'm the only one left from my group of 3 best friends since 3rd grade. First one hung himself because he was a pain pill addict, and I think the pressure of addiction and owing a lot of people money got to him. Ate a ton of Klonopins and hung himself on his mom's porch with a dog leash. My wife was dating him when I met her, and I always joke about it when people ask how we met. I say she was dating my friend and I stole her, and when they ask if we are still friends, I get quiet and say he killed himself. Second one was a heroin addict. Wrecked his car bad when he nodded off and he lived. After getting home from the hospital, he shot up again and nodded off while eating cereal and choked. His mom found him blue in the face. He lived, but is a completely different person who will never be independent again. The third one just died recently. He was the most bad person ever. Had so much fun in a life he loved. He was that dude on your social media you lived vicariously through. Bad chicks every month. Awesome road trips to Mexico one week and Alaska the next. He loved living the biker life. I couldn't even cry when he died because he died doing what he loved. He had literally said to me that he would rather die on his bike than doing anything else. Anyway, this will probably be buried, but it felt good to write. I've been off drugs, except booze, for a while now, and my wife and I are really happy. Glad I made it out of that town alive. Definitely miss my brothers, though. We had some great times. This is completely different from everything else here. Sorry to hear. Started racing. I was winning. Cop lights come on. Friend stopped. I kept going. A few minutes later, I get a call from my friend. Friend, the cop wants you to come back. Me, no, friend. He says you'll get it now or later. Me, I guess I'll get it later then. Parked my car down the street from my house. Friend came and picked me. And we went to his place to play Xbox. I felt kinda bad that he got a ticket and I didn't. The cop wants you to come back in trying to imagine this scene. The cop tells the friend to call you. Like what? As a teen, I worked at retail shop with a bunch of other teens. We would regularly fill carts with merchandise and walk them out the front door when management was on break. Cases of beer, cartons of cigarettes, perfume, cologne, batteries, compact discs, doctor, shawls, you name it, we stole it. I got promoted from cashier to customer service counter. A woman came in one day with a severe face on. I said something along the lines of, "You don't look like you've had a positive shopping experience." Or some. She went off on me. Turns out the face was her normal face and ID said the same thing to her every time she came. I didn't remember her, was high most of the time into the store. That was my third strike and I got fired on the spot. 1 week later, all my friends were arrested for theft. They had installed hidden cameras throughout and busted everyone except me. I had two girlfriends in middle school who peer pressured me into everything, stealing, drinking, etc. I was a pretty innocent kid, so I finally put my foot down one night when they were trying to steal my parents' alcohol. We were 12. They made fun of me until I cried, and I felt like I lost my two best friends. I googled their names 10 years later and saw that they were both arrested multiple times for petty theft. Hey! Petty theft. Did they kidnap midgets? Thanks for watching. Share your stories in the comments.